They are not responsible for cheering you on. That actually needs to come from you. That's like the internal work you need to do to be able to cheer yourself on and motivate yourself and hold yourself to a high standard of excellence. Hey there, my handsome and pretty little Cobras, and welcome back to the Cobra's Nest. For those of you who are new, my name is Mignon Cobra, and I make videos on minimalism. So today's minimalism video is going to be having better mental health using minimalism. So I got 5 things that I want to talk about because I think that while decluttering all your material possessions is fun, who doesn't love a good little attic clean out? I do think it's really important to clean up this attic. This is actually the most important thing. Cleaning out the engine is probably a better use of time and is actually a lot more difficult. So without further ado, let's just get into the video. Let's get it, let's go. Woo. So coming in at number 1, limit the amount of TV and social media intake you do. So I think that if you've ever doom scrolled or been on social media or even watching TV for like hours on end, let's be for real, do you feel better? Probably not. Constantly consuming and consuming leaves you feeling exhausted, just like you wouldn't sit at a buffet for hours on end consuming food. Your mind is still an organ at the end of the day. I don't think it's designed to be consuming that much content. It's a better use of your time to go out and create and design a life that has meaning outside of a screen. And I think this is a very common minimalism thing that I've actually heard. A lot of minimalists that I have followed throughout the years, they're really big on not wasting one's life, one's limited amount on this earth, watching TV, watching movies, watching Netflix, or doom scrolling on social media. They're very intentional about limiting the time about that. And you know me, I'm the black sheep of the community. I don't really like to listen to these tips. So what did I do? I went in the opposite direction. I had insane social media watch time. I mean, to be fair, I am a content creator. But yeah, firsthand experience, I don't feel good. Like if I have taken like hours worth of social media for days on end, I don't feel good. This video is in paid partnership by BetterHelp. So even if you are trying all these tips on your own, there's no shame in seeking professional help. We should always feel empowered and ask for help if we have tried all other methods. I myself have gone to therapy to work through certain stages in my life. I always feel a lot better when I speak with a professional. So this brings us to the paid partner portion of today's video. BetterHelp is an online therapy platform that makes starting therapy feel less overwhelming. You fill out a short questionnaire and get matched with a credentialed therapist as soon as possible. If it doesn't feel like a right fit, you can switch therapists at no extra cost. With over 7,000 reviews and a 4.3 rating on Trustpilot, BetterHelp is a platform people trust. If you've been thinking about trying therapy, click the link in my description or go to betterhelp.com/NatalieCobra to get 10% off your first month. Now, let's get into the tips and today's regularly scheduled program. So this is firsthand experience. I actually do feel a lot more refreshed, especially when you go on holiday and you take like a social media detox and you don't touch your phone. Oh my gosh, absolute paradise. You feel freaking amazing. And honestly, you don't need to go on holiday to enjoy this benefit. Just limit it in your daily life. So for me personally, even as a content creator, I actually limit the amount of time that I do go on social media. I really only go on social media in the evenings or when I have like time off in between work, but I really do try to limit it to no more than like an hour-ish. If it's hitting like 2 hours, 3 hours, I'm like, all right, Nat, you're clearly bored and do you really have nothing better to do? So that's the advice that I could give. If you find that you have that much free time that you're wasting hours on social media, this is your sign to figure out how can you live a more meaningful life and one life that isn't just like stuck scrolling on media. Your mental health will thank you for it. Okay, so coming in at number 2, so journaling and working through the shadow work. I think that shadow work is something that I see is really big in the self-help, self-improvement community, and I feel like isn't necessarily talked about that much in minimalism, but I feel like the two are really like intertwined. I think that if minimalism is about decluttering, I really do think that decluttering the mind is way more useful. And somebody who has been a minimalist for 10 years, I think that the most useful declutters I did were actual like mental declutters. When I looked at the mental frameworks and paradigms that were holding me back and I edited those, or I decluttered frameworks that just weren't suiting me anymore or were outdated or just didn't serve me anymore, I felt like that's when I made like some real serious progress in my life, when I did the shadow work. And when I say the shadow work, it's kind of like you know, those thoughts, those beliefs, or those things that you say to yourself in the privacy of your own mind. That's the shadow work. And like working through it, you know, like the painful things people have said to you, things family members have said about you that you know are not true, but they think is true. It's just like working through all of that, like that mental trash, cleaning it out, and like filling it with like things that are correct, things that are helpful, things that are empowering, things that are motivating. It's kind of like, I guess, like watering a plant or watering a flower and putting proper nutrition into that, like, and treating your mind like that, telling yourself like you're important, or like you're special, or like I love you, or you can do this, or like all those motivating thoughts. I think that that's really, really, really important. And I think that journaling it helps, because there'll be times where you fall down. And I speak from personal experience. When you fall down, if you've written it in a journal, you can always go back to a journal. You can always go back and you can read the notes that you have written throughout the years that had motivated you in different stages in life. And when you need that motivation again, you can go back to it and you can be like, yes, I agree with this. Yes, past me believed in me and I can do it then, and I can do it again. And that's why I really do think to marry the two, you should journal, and then you should also do the shadow work and write through it, script through it. And I think that that will help. I mean, obviously don't just use the journal to complain. I don't think that that's healthy, but it is good to work through all of the trash that's up here, because I really do think that that is a good use of minimalism, not just decluttering your material possessions, but also decluttering, I guess, toxic frameworks. Coming in at number 3, practice gratitude for what you do have. And I know that that can be really hard, because I was a minimalist for a really long time, and for a really big portion of the time, I'll be honest, I wasn't really grateful. Like even up until like 2020, 2021, I didn't have any gratitude, because I was stuck in that very like later will be better, later will be better than what I have now. And I had a really hard time finding happiness in the present. And I think that gratitude is the key to that. It's like, what's good right now, what's good, that's something that you could be just like genuinely grateful for. And I think that that will definitely help a lot with kind of like being present in the moment. And I think that's part of minimalism. Part of minimalism is kind of like, how can I cherish today? And it isn't until you get older that you kind of realize like today's actually really special. You may not really feel it, because every day may seem the same, every day may feel mundane, but it isn't until some time has gone by where you realize, oh wow, like I can never go back to that time in my life ever again, because we can't time travel, we can't go back in time. You can really only enjoy today. Once you've understood that, you start to feel a lot more deep sense of gratitude, because you realize a lot of things in your life are actually not that permanent, and today is actually very special. You'll be in the future and you'll think about today and you'll think like, why wasn't I happier? Why didn't I cherish today a little harder? Because sometimes we think these things are forever, but you might find if you've lived long enough, no, these things are not forever. And so in which case we start to have a lot more gratitude for those things. We have more gratitude for our parents who are aging, who are not always going to be around. We have more gratitude for our pet, because they too will not be around forever. We have gratitude for who we are today, because 10 years from now you won't be this young ever again. So I think practicing gratitude for what you do have, or for things that you had always dreamed of and wished for and you have now, but you forgot to practice gratitude. Just remember, there was a time where you didn't have the things now that you had once prayed for. Okay, coming in at number 4. Think that you are important, think your work is important. And I think this is a really great minimalism tip that I actually don't really see advocated a lot in the minimalism community. The minimalism community puts a really big emphasis on the humble brag. You should be low key, you should be humble, you should be this, you should be that. And I really don't think there's anything wrong with that, but I also do think that it's important to understand or have this deep belief that you are important, because how can you think your work is important if you don't think you're important, or vice versa? You won't do well at your work or whatever it is that you do if you don't even think that you're important or your work is important. And that actually isn't anyone's responsibility except yours. The only person who is responsible for thinking you are important, the only person responsible for cheering you on is actually yourself. I know you may feel like that's somebody else's, that's my spouse's responsibility, my student's responsibility, my boss's responsibility, but they are not responsible for cheering you on. That actually needs to come from you. That's like the internal work you need to do to be able to cheer yourself on and motivate yourself and hold yourself to a high standard of excellence, and believe my work is important, because the inherent belief is I'm important. And I think that that's really hard, because I think maybe you don't think you're important. So there's been plenty of times I didn't think I was important. When I was talking into a void, when I was talking to all of my 200 subscribers, 15 views on my YouTube channel, I was like, am I important? Is anyone even listening? I talked to the void. I talked to an empty camera long before there was anyone. It was literally just me and Will. my husband watching. So yeah, you're gonna have to think that you're important, because the opposite is a very depressing thought. So I think that use minimalism to declutter mental frameworks that don't serve you, so that you can truly genuinely believe that you are important, because honestly, we are all important. Coming in at number 5, fill your cup, empty your cup. So this is kind of more in the realm of Zen and Buddhism than it is minimalism per se, but you guys know, as a Buddhist, I love me my Zen koans. Think of your mind as a cup. You read to fill up your mind, and you meditate to empty your cup. I think that that's really important. I think since our mind is still an organ, just like you wouldn't pour more tea into a dirty cup that still has tea in it, you would probably take the cup and you'd wash it, and now it's fresh, and now it's clean, and now you can put in fresh tea, and that's probably a better experience than a dirty cup that still has tea in it and you're overflowing it with water. It's just like not the vibe. You're not enjoying the tea and you're making a mess. And that's a metaphor for the mess that you might be making with your mind if you don't meditate, or if you don't declutter, or if you don't clean up your mind. You're just constantly filling in water into a metaphorical dirty cup. So I think meditation is the way to go. Meditating is the training of knowing how to empty out your mind. And I actually don't think that meditation is necessarily an easy task. A lot of people, and myself included, honestly, when I first started meditation, it wasn't easy. I couldn't sit still with my own thoughts. My own thoughts were a terrible place to be. But once I got into the habit of meditating and entering the void and being alone with my dark thoughts and my inner demons, I was like, whoa, there's a lot to clean in here. So that's the advice that I could give if you are in a minimalism journey and you are in a stage where maybe you're kind of like, I'm done decluttering, like what's next? I think working on your mind and practicing the philosophy of emptying your cup so that you can fill your cup. And when I say like fill your cup, I think it's kind of like, how much content are you consuming in proportion to how often are you cleaning out your mind? Are you just constantly like shoving data, consumption, information, social media, television, TV shows into your head, but you haven't done out any cleaning? Yeah, if you're feeling sick, if you're feeling just like mentally exhausted, if you're feeling overwhelmed, that might be a good place to start, is to actually start meditating and emptying out your cup. So yeah, I hope that you guys could have enjoyed this little video, and I'll catch you guys in the next one. Thanks for watching. Bye.